Vishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhuji Tanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shama Shri Mataji. Really appreciate it. So today we will be reading chapter 7 of 5th canto. Let's start that. Without further ado, let me just bring up my notes here. So first 7 verses. Maybe Shama Shriji, would you like to read as well?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll read that. Thank you.
Let me get that. So
Text 1. Shukdev Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, Bharat Maharaj was a topmost devotee. Following the orders of his father, who had already decided to install him on the throne, he began to rule the earth accordingly. When Bharat Maharaj ruled the entire globe, he followed the orders of his father and married Panchjani, the daughter of Vishrupa. Text 2. Just as the false ego creates the subtle sense objects, Maharaj Bharat created 5 sons in the womb of Panchjani, his wife. These sons were named Sumati, Rashtrabharat, Sudarshan, Avarna, and Dhrumketu. Text 3. Formerly the planet was known as Ajnab Varsha, but since Maharaj Bharat's reign, it has known as Bharat Varsha. Text 4. Maharaj Bharat was a very learned and experienced king on the earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens, being himself engaged in his own respective duties. Maharaj Bharat was as affectionate to the citizens as his father and grandfather had been, keeping them engaged in their occupational duties. He ruled the earth. Text 5. With great faith, King Bharat performed various kinds of sacrifice. He performed the sacrifices known as Agnihotra, Darsha, Purnmasha, Chaturmasya, Pashu Yagna, wherein a horse is sacrificed, and Soma Yagna, wherein a kind of beverage is offered. Sometimes these sacrifices were performed completely and sometimes partially. In any case, in all these sacrifices, the regulations of Chaturtha were strictly followed. In this way, Bharat Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 6. After performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. In other words, he performed all the yagnas for the satisfaction of Lord Vasudev, Krishna. Maharaj Bharat thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vasudev's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was freed from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed. When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Maharaj Bharat expertly understood how the offering made to different demigods was simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For instance, Indra is the arm of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Surya, the sun, is his eye. Thus, Maharaj Bharat considered that the oblations offered to different demigods were actually offered onto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva. Text 7. In this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service onto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the super soul, Paramatma, as well as the impersonal Brahma. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahm as the supreme absolute truth, and devotees worship Vasudev, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with the Shrivas, the Kaustubh jewel, and the flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narada always think of him within their heart. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Right. So let me just see. Okay. So this chapter is entitled Activities of King Bharat. Mm. So who was King Bharat? Priyavat Maharaj. We are discussing the dynasty of King Priyavrata. Priyavrata's eldest son was Agnitra. Agnitra's eldest son was Nabhi. Nabhi didn't have children. Therefore, he performed sacrifice to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena and offered benediction that he would be born as a child, a son to King Nabhi. So that's how Rushabhadev was born. Rushabha means, what is the meaning of Rushabha? The best of all human beings. Supreme. Yes, supreme being or the best of all beings, Rushabha. So Rushabhadev is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he married to Jayanti and begot 100 sons. And what he did was he instructed them in the science of self-realization. So out of these 100 children, 9 became Mahabhagavatas, 81 sons became Brahmanas, who performed ritualistic ceremonies, and 10 became the rulers or administrators. And who was the eldest son of Rushabdev?
Bharat Maharaj.
Bharat Maharaj. That's why we are discussing the story of Bharat Maharaj. The eldest son was Bharat. And what advice was given to the sons? Who should they follow?
Bharat Maharaj.
Yes, they were all advised that you should take the association of a saintly person. And here is a saintly person. Your brother, eldest brother, is the #1 devotee of the Lord. So that's why you take this association. And by serving your brother, Bharat, you will serve me. Like that mentioned. Then Rishabdev accepted the behavior of an Avaduta. Avaduta means the one who wanders and doesn't care the social orders or social system. They are above the social system, but they are pure devotees of the Lord. So later he actually left this planet eventually after performing various activities. So here in this particular chapter, now we are discussing the activities of the eldest son Bharat. So in the past we discussed that. So let me show this. I will just show a picture. I've shown this before anyway. This is the structure of Bhumandala. If you see from the top, it looks like a lotus like this, various layers. So in the center of Bhumandala, there is Jambudvipa. And this Jambudvipa looks like this. And there are 9 divisions within the Jambudvipa. This last division towards the southernmost side, here you can see, beg your pardon. So that is called Bharatavarsha. So this tract of land, the southernmost part of the Jambudvipa, was actually previously ruled by his father, Rishabdev. When Rishabdev was ruling this tract of land, it was known as Ajnaba Varsha. Ajnaba means, what does Ajnaba means? Aja means unborn. Nabha means Nabhi. So son of Nabhi, or unborn son of Nabhi. One of the names of Lord Rishabdev was Ajnaba, means unborn son of Nabhi. Aja means he's unborn, although he took birth, but he's unborn as the Supreme Lord. So this tract of land here, as you can see, was known as Ajnaba Varsha. But later, the same tract of land was ruled by Bharat. So, since the time of Bharat, this tract of land is known as Bharatavarsha. Previously, it was known as Ajnaba Varsha. And actually, when the time of Nabhi, when Nabhi was ruling, who was Nabhi? Rishabdev's father was Nabhi. When Nabhi was ruling, it was called Nabhi Varsha. When Rishabdev was ruling, it was called Ajnaba Varsha. When Bharat Maharaj was ruling, it was called Bharatavarsha. That's how the Bharat came. So, he had 5 sons, it is mentioned here. And how was he ruling? So what was his, the mood? Some of his wonderful characteristics were given. He perfectly ruled the citizens. And at the same time, he performed his daily duties, his duties as a ruler properly. And he was very affectionate to the citizens, as his father, Rishabdev, and his grandfather, Nabhi. And, he kept them engaged in the occupational duty. So his rule was given like, he was very wonderful ruler. These days, politicians may not be very affectionate to the citizens. They see their own interest. Especially, we see this anywhere, and especially in India, we see this also. Not everyone, but mostly, generally. So, but he was he was like a father for every citizen, looking after the welfare of every citizen. What he was doing while he was ruling, he performed a number of sacrifices, yajnas. There are different names of sacrifices mentioned: Agnihotra, Darsha, Purnamasa, Chaturmasya, Pashu Yajna, Soma Yajna, like this, all these were mentioned. But he worshipped the Supreme Lord through these sacrifices. It was for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And why did he actually do like, like a karma kondik person, those who are engaged in fruitive work, those who are after some benefits, some fruits, some material wealth, they do some of these rituals. But here his intention is to please the Lord, number one. Number two, to bring prosperity to the people in general. If the king is pious, if he worships the Lord, every subject will enjoy that benefit. Similarly, the family head, does good, and when he makes good money and has good discipline, and possesses all good qualities, then he can share with the family members. They will also get the benefit, and they will have access to that. So, and here in text 6, it is mentioned, he performed all the yajnas for the satisfaction of the Lord. And what he did was, he worshipped through, from while doing these sacrifices, he worshipped the demigods, some of the demigods. But what was his mood in worshipping the demigods? He considered the demigods to be various limbs of the Lord. Say, for example, Indra is considered to be the arm of the Lord. So he's like, say if he worships Indra, he's actually thinking, yes, this is the arm of the Lord. I'm actually offering service to the arm of the Lord. And like that, if he worships Surya, he says, yes, this is eye of my Lord. I'm worshipping the eye of my Lord, like that. So the demigods are actually different bodily parts of the Lord. Prabhupada writes some of the important information, how we should respect and worship different demigods. Let me find that out. Yes, Anupama Radhika Mataji, can you read this from here?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. We should worship the demigods in the spirit. Because the goddess Durga satisfied Krishna, we should therefore offer respects to goddess Durga. Because Lord Shiva is nothing but Krishna's functional body, we should therefore offer respects to Lord Shiva. Similarly, we should offer respects to Brahma, Agni, and Surya. There are many offerings to different demigods, and one should always remember that these offerings are usually meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bharat Maharaj did not aspire to receive some benediction from demigods. His aim was to please the Supreme Lord. In the Mahabharata, among the 1,000 names of Vishnu, it is said, Yajna Bhuj, Yajna Krid, Yajna. The enjoyer of Yajna, the performer of Yajna, and Yajna itself are the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the performer of everything. But out of ignorance, the living entity thinks that he is the actor. As long as we think we are the actors, we bring about karma bandha, bondage to activity. If we act for yajna for Krishna, there is no karma bandha. Yajna tat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one to this material world.
I think we'll stop there. Here, this is the mode, like, say when we offer obeisances or, worship, respects to Durga, we should see that how she is close to the Supreme Lord. We should connect and say, here it is mentioned, Lord Shiva is nothing but Krishna's functional body. Lord Shiva is nothing but a functional body, like that. We should therefore offer respects to Lord Shiva. So this is how we should offer respects. We should not see them as an independent, of Krishna. Rather, we should see they are part and parcel of Krishna. They are connected to Krishna. If you think that this particular demigod is greater than Krishna or is independent of Krishna, that is an actually offense, according to Padma Purana. Okay, so this is how Bharat Maharaj worshipped various demigods through various sacrifices, actually ultimately for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. While doing this, these sacrifices, Bharat Maharaj got completely purified and uncontaminated. So his devotional service to Lord Krishna increased day after day. So he came to a very higher level by this worship. This is what happens when we do devotion. Slowly our contamination will be destroyed, and we should be able to see progress in ourselves. If you're not making progress, we have to have patience also. It doesn't happen overnight. We have to continue to do it. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take time. Okay, so we will try and read the next section from 8 till 14. There are only 14 verses in this chapter. Short, very short, small chapter. So who would like to read the next section, please? Okay, Jisha Mataji.
Text 8. Destiny fixed the time for Maharaj Bharat's enjoyment of material opulence at 1,000 times 10,000 years. When that period was finished, he retired from family life and divided the wealth he had received from his forefathers among his sons. He left his paternal home, the reservoir of all opulence, and started for Pulahashrama, which is situated in Haridwar. The Salagrama Shilas are obtainable there. Text 9. At Pulahashrama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, out of his transcendental affection for his devotee, becomes visible to his devotee, satisfying his devotee's desires. Text 10. In Pulahashrama is the Gandaki river, which is the best of all rivers. The Salagrama Shila, the marble pebbles, purify all those places. On each and every marble pebble, up and down, circles like navels are visible. Text 11. In the gardens of Pulhashrama, Maharaja Bharata lived alone and collected a variety of flowers, twigs, and tulasi leaves. He also collected the water of the Gandaki river, as well as various roots, fruits, and bulbs. With these, he offered food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and worshipping him, he remained satisfied. In this way, his heart was completely uncontaminated and he did not have the least desire for material enjoyment. All material desires vanished. In this steady position, he felt full satisfaction and was situated in devotional service. Text 12. That most exalted devotee, Maharaja Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vasudeva, Krishna, increased more and more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the ecstatic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. Thus he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus fetus of the Lord. At that time, his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love. When his Mine was immersed in that lake. He even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. Text 13. Maharaja Bharata appeared very beautiful. He had a wealth of curly hair on his head, which was wet from bathing 3 times daily. He dressed in a deer skin. He worshipped Lord Narayana, whose body was composed of golden effulgence and who resided within the sun. Maharaja Bharata worshipped Lord Narayana by chanting the hymns given in the regulatory Veda
Rigveda.
in the Rigveda, and he recited the following verse as the sun rose. Text 14. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in pure goodness. He illuminates the entire universe and bestows all benedictions upon his devotees. The Lord has created this universe from his own spiritual potency. According to his desire, the Lord entered this universe as the super soul, and by virtue of his different potencies, he is maintaining all living entities desiring material enjoyment. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lord, who is the giver of intelligence.
Thank you, Mataji. This is a very short chapter. So what did Bharat Maharaj do? How long did he rule the kingdom for? 1,000 times 10,000. Yes. So those many years. So they used to live very long. So, but he decided to retire from family life, and he divided the wealth, and he divided the wealth that he had received and handed it over to his sons, and he left parental home and left for Pula ashram. So we see this in every devotee's life. So they retire at certain age. They don't continue working until the last breath. So I was reading today and elsewhere, I found a very beautiful verse. I'll just mention that. So Vidura was telling this to Maitreya. This is in connection with the current verse. Vidura is mentioned to Maitreya. Oh, great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, right? Why do we work? To attain happiness. Why everyone works? To attain happiness. But one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. One is never satisfied and one is never free from distress. Wonderful analogy, wonderfully explained, right? Everyone works so hard for happiness. No one is fully satisfied with the happiness they are getting, and no one is free from distress. No one is free from distress. On the contrary, one is only aggravated by such activities. So this is the shloka. This verse is spoken by Vidura to Maitreya, and he's asking, tell me, what is the best for me? How can I engage? So yes, even after retirement, also people continue to work. But here our scriptures tell us that we should engage more and more in devotional service, more and more. And devotional service. So Bharat Maharaj, although he had so much wealth, imagine having that much wealth and completely renouncing it like a stool. My spiritual master gives this example. Yeah. So does someone worry about renouncing stool? You feel happy, right? My spiritual master, sorry, is so graphic example, but I remember my spiritual master giving this example. That's how we left everything. But not easy, not at all easy. So beautiful wife and many servants, all the wonderful facilities. He had given up, and then he went to this place called Pulahashram at Hardwar. It is mentioned. And there we can also find Shalagram Shilas. And what did he do when he went there? So he was just there is a river called Gandaki River. Just remind me, like Gandaki River is in Nepal, right? And Haridwar and Nepal, are they close? My
No,
geography.
they are not, Prabhu. Gandaki River is in Nepal. That is true.
Okay. So,
Because Gopala Bhatt Goswami also got his.
yeah, that's where he went, isn't it? He got 12 Shalagram Shilas from there.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Anyway, so thank you. So there is a Gandaki River, and we find Shalagram Shilas there. So what did he do? Maharaj Bharat lived alone. Just imagine, like, always he was surrounded by many servants. But now he was, he's living alone. And earlier he used to offer very opulent, food preparation to the Lord. But now simple, just collecting flowers, fruits, and twigs and leaves. And he was just, eating them, and of course offering them and eating. Simple, because he was living in the forest, and he collected the waters from Gandaki River, so he used to offer that as well. So he basically continued to worship the Supreme Lord Vasudeva in the Pula ashram. He remained satisfied. It is said. There was no desire for material enjoyment at all. All material designs are destroyed, completely vanished. He was in a steady position, which is called bhava, the stage. Bhakti, there are different stages, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. Bhava, he was at the stage of bhava. In the stage of bhava, you continuously remember the Lord. Continuously remember the Lord, spontaneously. This is spontaneous, it's not sadhana. Naturally they live, they remember the Lord, they love the Lord. So we are sadhaka bhaktas, we are practicing devotees. We have to force ourselves to remember the Lord. But at this stage, it's a constant remembrance of the Lord he was having. And his symptoms were given here. What are the symptoms? So more and more, so the love for Krishna increased more and more, and his hairs of the hairs of his body stood on the end. Some of the symptoms of this ecstatic love, and tears flowed continuously from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything at all. Just imagine. And his heart, which is like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love, and fully immersed in that consciousness. So he forgot the external world. This is the situation of Maharaj Bharat when he was at the Pula ashram. And he was he was living very simply, just wearing some deer-skin and worshipping Lord Narayana and chanting the Vedic hymns. And he said that he used to chant the mantra that is given in the Rig Veda. So he was basically doing a wonderful job. But however, something happens, something comes on his way. So we will have to discuss that in the next, like in next week, because I have some other engagement. So I thought I would discuss at least 2 chapters today, but I have some other engagement. So we have to end the session here. So this is a very short chapter wherein entitled Activities of King Bharat. Bharat Maharaj was the eldest son of Rishabdev. So since the time of Bharat Maharaj, this particular tract of land in Jambudvipa is known as Bharatvarsha. Previously, it was known as Ajnab Varsha. He had 5 sons, and he was a great ruler, wonderful devotee. His father Rishabdev actually advised all his 99 sons to follow in the footsteps of Bharat Maharaj, such an exalted devotee of the Lord. He was ruling the kingdom, and he was wonderfully and very affectionate to the citizens. And he performed a number of sacrifices for the benefit of the subjects, so that they can benefit, they can have good wealth, good prosperity, and they can live happily. And he worshipped various demigods, thinking to be various parts of the Supreme Lord. He did not see the demigods as separate individuals. He saw them as bodily part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada tells us that we should also respect them, considering them to be part of the Supreme Lord. And at some point, after ruling so long, like several thousand years, he gave up the kingdom. He divided his wealth among his 5 children, 5 sons, and just left to Pulahashram at Haridwar. In that place, it is mentioned there are Shalagram Shilas available, and wherein so he was simply living alone and executing his devotion by collecting leaves, fruits, roots, etc., by taking bath in Ganges, and he attained a stage called bhava, which is spontaneous love of God. So he naturally thinks of God. And he was seeing the Lord everywhere, and just by thinking the Lord, he used to have tears, like that. Various wonderful symptoms were mentioned, and also he was taking bath in that Gandaki river 3 times daily, and chanting mantras from Rigveda for the satisfaction of the Lord. So we will stop here and continue next week. Manju Radha Mataji.
Prabhu, just a question. I wanted to know that, like when yagnas were done in previous yugas, a portion of it would go to demigods.
Sure.
Now, in Kali Yuga, the yagna is Harinam Sankirtan. So does that mean that a portion of this goes to demigods as well?
Good question. So it is said that Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushte. Have you heard this phrase? Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushte. By satisfying the Supreme Lord, everyone else is satisfied. So by worshipping the Supreme Lord, by satisfying Lord Vishnu, Krishna, by chanting this, all other demigods will also be satisfied.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So that's why by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, we please everyone, all the demigods. We never disrespect them. That's why we should never disrespect them. We should offer respect, but in connection to the Supreme Lord, just like Bharat Maharaj was connecting them. That's the difference. Okay, so chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So we'll see you all next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Prabhupada ki jai. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai
Jai.
Gaurav Nandi. Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, okay, thank you.